Part 105. Three Kingdoms, I Have a Job Transfer Palace. Author, Strong Wine Burns the Heart. Chapter 1044. The people from the government came here with only one purpose, because they had received the order from King Qin Yingzheng, saying that they wanted to find their biological brother. King Qin Yingzheng's brother was traveling abroad. After this matter was revealed, many people took the initiative to offer strategies to King Qin, saying that they would definitely bring his brother back to reassure King Qin. Regarding this, Lu Feng was very speechless, because it would delay his time to go out to find the famous sword in the world. I also asked the young master not to embarrass you. King Qin of Xiaoguan said personally that you must return to the palace as soon as possible. He has important matters to discuss with you. You have been traveling around and enjoying the scenery, which makes him very uneasy. This word sounds like a younger brother who cares very much about his elder brother in other people's mouths, but it sounds very harsh to Lu Feng, as if King Qin Yingzheng is warning him, you also have the right to inherit the throne, and you are outside every day. Run. It is also possible to unite with other 6 countries to attack the King of Qin. This is the crime of espionage. The King of Qin does not allow spies to appear among his royal family members. Lu Feng's Euro trademark's head is getting bigger, and it is clear that the young master Fusu has just been born. Why is the King of Qin here already the Lord of the 6 Kingdoms? He clearly remembers that when the young master Fusu was born, the King of Qin was attacking other countries. When the young master Fusu grew up to be a young man, the world was unified. But looking at what he saw in front of him, Qi State and Lindsay have already accepted the order of King Qin, which means that Qin State has defeated Qi State at this time. Although Qi State took the initiative to surrender in history, it sounds like such a shameful thing, so it is better not to say it openly. I went out because I wanted to see what the world was like outside, so I don't a Euro trademark T need to worry King Qin. Just say it was my wish when you return home, and you will return to the palace of Qin in 3 months, so King Qin can rest assured. Lu Feng made up a random reason and sent the official away. If he followed him again, Lu Buledin wouldn't mind giving him a knife. Seeing Lu Buledin's tall head, the official was too scared to step forward and could only watch Lu Bufeng led the people away. And Lu Feng was so anxious because Lu Yuz came back to tell him that he finally found out about the Juk sword. Near the remote northern suburbs of Linzi, there is a special attic called Tingfeng Yunyu, which sounds like it is very elegant, but what it actually does is not elegant. Many dignitaries will do some special transactions here. Whether it is people or things, as long as you are willing to pay, you can buy them here. And the buyers and sellers will not asking each other where the goods come from. There is no need to know the identity of the buyer and the seller. There is only one thing recognized here, and that is money. And in this place, the current owner of the Juk sword is Shenqi, and Lu Feng seriously doubts that he is to cause trouble. Shenqi couldn't get enough of a place where money transactions could be made. So he hurried over to see what was driving Shenqi there. In just one stick of incense, after that, they arrived at the Tingfeng Yinyu loft. Unfortunately, they arrived here half a step too late, because Shenqi had already destroyed half of the loft. Fortunately, they were only half a step too late. Shenqi has not left at this time, and the giant sword in his hand is catching up with a graceful girl. Win 7. Stop! Lu Yuz shouted loudly and stepped forward to save the beauty. 3 Kingdoms, I Have a Job Transfer Palace. Author, Strong Wine Burns the Heart. Chapter 1045. Lu Feng looked at his son's action and could only sigh silently. When the child grows up, he can't help his father. But then I thought about it, this kid still has the same demeanor as he did back then, otherwise he wouldn't a Euro trademark T have so many harems. Who are you? Why stop me? Shenqi can actually talk, which makes Lu Feng very funny. Lu Feng carefully checked Shenqi's current state. He didn't have the public loser's machine on him. It seemed that he hadn't completely turned into a half-robot. He was still completely intact. A complete human being who doesn't speak, maybe just because of his personality. If Lu Feng remembers correctly, in Qin Shi Minjiao's world, he was not a mute who had his tongue cut off, so he could speak, but Ida Euro trademark S just that there are no lines. Ida Euro trademark S okay for now. You can take the giant sword from his hand while he is still able to speak independently. Doesn't a Euro trademark T it matter who I am? All in all, if I want this sword in your hand, I can make a deal with you, and I can exchange it with you for whatever you want. Lu Yuz looked at the giant sword in his hand with burning eyes. It was really a heavy sword without an edge, and it felt very majestic. If you don't a Euro trademark T change anything, I a Euro trademark LL kill you. Shang-Chi was furious. In this era, people regard the sword in their hand as their life. How could they hand it over so easily? Lu Feng was able to snatch the sword away from Fu Nian and Zhang Liang. That's because Lu Buletin is too strong, and the other party has loftier ambitions in his heart, and he will not throw away his life for a sword. Otherwise, even if he kills them both, he will still take the sword. Don't leave. Lu Yuz originally wanted to compete with Shang-Chi in front of him, but when the giant sword slashed down, he realized that he was not strong enough to fight against Shang-Chi. Shang-Chi's power was too great. It was so big that the giant K-sword had already developed its blade before it even reached the front. The blade was so sharp that it felt as if the cold wind in winter was stabbing a person's face. At this critical moment, Lu Buletin reached forward and grabbed Lu Yuz's hand with his right hand. His shoulder made him retreat, and his left hand was able to withstand the power of the giant sword. Shang-Chi looked at Lu Buletin in horror. He couldn't believe that there was someone in the world who could withstand his giant sword with his body. Sword, you must know that the Juk sword is one of the top 10 famous swords in the world. Young master, please step back. This man has some strength. In another year, young master may be able to defeat him, but now young master is not his opponent. Even at this time, Lu Buletin has not forgotten himself. As Lu Yuz's master, he has to teach him the value of force. He is very loyal to his duty. Lu Yuz is also an obedient child. He knows that he is not strong enough, so he silently retreating, waiting for Lu Buletin to deal with the man in front of him. At the same time, he secretly vowed to become stronger so that he could do things for his father. Kill! Shang-Chi yelled. He didn't care who the person in front of him was. He only knew how to rush forward. But if it was a matter of strength, Lu Buletin was not a weak person. He grabbed the giant sword and competed with Shang-Chi. They got up, and in the confrontation, they were evenly matched. The two were in a stalemate. Zhou Shen's stone was crushed by his foot and flew everywhere. Lu Feng could only shake his head when he saw this. It seemed that every time he took the sword in the future, you can only grab it. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Three Kingdoms, I Have a Job Transfer Palace. Author, Strong Wine Burns the Heart. Chapter 1046. As expected of the Warring States period, these so-called famous swords were all famous swords in the world. Everyone regarded them as treasures and were unwilling to hand over the treasures in their hands even if they died. For a moment, Lu Feng felt that he had a long way to go to collect 10 famous swords. Let go! Lu Buletin yelled, and actually snatched the giant sword from Shang-Chi's hands so forcefully. This move made everyone unexpected. It turned out that even Shang-Chi had no chance of winning in front of Lu Buletin. Lu Feng, wow, I didn't expect that even in a different world, Lu Buletin would still be ridiculously strong. Give it back to me! Shang-Chi yelled. He never expected that the person in front of him was so strong. Just by meeting him, he actually snatched his giant sword away. Normally, he wanted to snatch it back, but suddenly he realized that his strength was not as strong as the opponent's. Sheng could only give up the sword in his hand. He roared angrily and rushed forward, wanting to compete with the opponent again, but Lu Buledin didn't give him a chance at all and kicked him back. He lay on the ground, he kept coughing up blood. Lu Buledin didn't hold back his kick at all. He hit Shang-Chi, who was just an ordinary person, with 100% of his force, directly kicking him to serious injuries. If no one passed by to save him, maybe tonight he will become food for the wolves on the roadside. His current injury is definitely not ordinary. It can be cured with a casual bandage. He must see a doctor and use traditional Chinese medicine, internally and externally. All clothes need to be used. If this person is killed, what will Qin Shimingyu's world look like? Lu Feng said such words to himself, and such words also produced earth-shaking changes in the world, because Lu Feng really did not intend to save him. Since he had already captured the famous sword in the world, he would not save him anyway. Return these to their original owners, and everything will change. Some people lose the sharpness of their weapons, and their strength may drop by 3 to 4 levels. So will they still be able to survive after downgrading? It's hard to say if they can deal with their respective enemies. Master, if you leave it here like this, it won't survive tonight. Should I have to ask a doctor to come here? Lu Buledin came over with the giant sword, raised his hands above his head, and dedicated it to Lu Feng. By the way, do you want to be the original owner of this sword? Because he has been in this world for so long, although Lu Feng is taking those things, there are famous swords in the world, but the original owner of the sword has never been killed. There is no need to go to so much trouble, just let it fend for itself here. If he is not dead, it proves that God's will is so. If he is dead, it will be very interesting. Lu Feng did not intend to deliberately kill Shang-Chi, but decided to leave it all to his luck. Maybe a different result would occur and an interesting future would occur. With his current status and his life, Lu Feng coupled with his past life experiences, interesting things and interesting people can attract his attention even more. Yes, sir. Lu Buledin replied simply and neatly. As for more and more famous swords, Lu Feng did not plan to handle them personally, but gave them to Lu Buledin and the others for safekeeping. Fortunately, the generals around him were not mortals, although a wooden box only contained a sword will not feel heavy to them. 3 Kingdoms, I Have a Job Transfer Palace. Author, Strong Wine Burns the Heart. Chapter 1047. Lu Feng no longer paid attention to Shang-Chi and planned to leave the forest. There were other famous swords that needed to be found, and his memory of his previous life was not very clear. Whether he could find them or not was all left to luck. Let me think about it. The Amber Sword is ranked 12th in the sword manual. The current owner is Tian Hu, one of the 6th Hall of the Nong family, the master of Shu Hall. Amaterasu sword is ranked 13th in the sword manual. The owner is Yun, one of the 5 elders of the Yin-Yang family. Zongjun, this sword cuts iron like clay, and when it triggers an attack, it will carry flames with great power. It is also the famous sword Hangong, the sword of Yan Lu, the second master of Confucianism. Recalling this, Lu Feng suddenly felt uncomfortable. Why didn't he think that if Ruza could see if Yan Lu was there at that time, even if he went out to do things, he could wait in Confucianism until he came back from doing things and get the 3 swords at once. Just snatch them all away. Now if I want to turn around and go back to find the 3 swords in the Confucian field, I don't a Euro trademark T know if the Ru family will hate him. The whole family regards him as an eternal opponent. I a Euro trademark am afraid from now on, he and the Confucian family will the feud between them had to be ended. Thinking of this, Lu Feng could only sigh helplessly. There was no way, their family had too many famous weapons. But in his memory, there was a special one. The famous sword is Shark Tooth. Shark Tooth is not included in the sword manual because it is too bloody, but its power is comparable to Yuan Hong. If you include all these things in your bag, it is also a good choice. If you just want to get all the famous swords mentioned above, you have to face the highest combat power in this plane. And this highest combat power also has very strong luck. His luck value is the protagonist's halo. Absolutely, it is not something that can be broken easily. Wei Zhuang and Gai Nai, these two main characters, will never die easily, nor will they be easily slaughtered. Maybe some inexplicable things will happen when we face them again. People, the battle situation will become more and more chaotic. Whether it is Wei Zhuang or Gai Nai, they have many friends and enemies around them. Every time they appear on the stage, they will bring out more or less other people. The more people there are, the more people they have. The more troubles there are. Lu Feng doesn't a Euro trademark T want to get into trouble in this world. Let's find out where the farmhouse is first, and try to find out as much information about Chi Yotang. If we can find accurate information, we'll go to that place immediately. Lu Feng still decided to go to the farmhouse first. In fact, he also deliberately chose the farmhouse, because this is the world of various schools of thought. He wanted to see what they looked like in different places. You know, no matter in reality, in the world, in his previous life, all the schools of thought only existed in history books. People who were not born in Qin or the Warring States period had never seen what is called the real school of thought. Lu Feng, I hope that this time I come to the world of Qin Shi Minjiao, not only to complete the tasks assigned by the system, but also to see what the various schools of thought are like in this era. Yes, sir. Got it, father. Lu Buledin and others replied. Soon they set off again, but this time, because Lu Feng really couldn't remember where the farmers gathered for the meeting, so he could only ask the surrounding residents and move forward if he had any information. One step, there was no news, so I stopped at the inn and waited. Three Kingdoms, I have a job transfer palace. Author, Strong Wine Burns the Heart. Chapter 1048. Some of the scholars are more public and can let the people know their news, while some are more low-key and no matter how hard the people search, they can't find any trace of them. For example, Wu Ziyi has always stuck to the old rules and hidden in the mountain wall. Their location has always been the most mysterious among all the disciples. In the bright moon of the Qin dynasty, if it were not for Wei Zhuang, King Qin would not be able to find the Mo family at all. But there are also some that are more flamboyant, such as the Yin-Yang family. Ita Euro trademark S, not that they are so flamboyant, but that the entire family is exposed to everyone a Euro trademark S view. They were regarded as guests by the king of Qin, and they had always shown off their power in front of the people of the world, but it was precisely because of their actions that everyone knew where to go if they wanted to find the Yin-Yang family. However, for Lu Feng, the person he is looking for now is not such an obvious person, but a farmer who has been hiding something for a long time. The clearest memory is that he should be in Yan country, and other related memories are not clear. Farmers should be regarded as a group of relatively wealthy people among hundreds of families. They are not only run by various halls, they are very good, and they are so beautiful that during the autumn harvest season, it is a great harvest. However, this is compared to outsiders. In fact, their image is that they are also engaged in business and are cautious in all aspects, so their property has always been relatively large. Lu Feng couldn't remember exactly where they were, and planned to wait and see after entering the Yan kingdom. I just didn't expect that something bad would happen as soon as they arrived in Yan country. I don't a Euro trademark T know what kind of beggar she was because she was so poor that she fell down in front of their carriage, yelling that they had broken his leg and that she wanted to pay for it. This was the first time I met Lu Feng in this era. I couldn't help but look at him, wondering what on earth this man was going to do. Lu Feng didn't speak, and the others naturally didn't dare to speak either. They just sat on the horse and watched quietly in front of them. This man was rolling around, and as he shouted, more and more people gathered around him. What happened? Why does the old man on the ground keep crying out in pain? Didn't these young men break his leg and are clamoring for compensation? Impossible. I know this old man. He is a famous beggar among us. He has been begging for more than 10 years. He uses this trick to defraud others of their money every time. I have to quickly remind that young man not to be fooled. There were more and more people watching, and they began to discuss what was going on here. One of them seemed to know the beggar in front of him, and hurriedly came to Lubuletin. Brother, you must not be fooled. The old beggar in front of you is a liar. He often uses this method to defraud people of their money and win sympathy. You must not give him money to fulfill his wish. The anxious young man was so afraid that they would be deceived that he even directly pulled Lubuletin to sit on the reins of the horse. If it weren't for the fact that the horse in front of him was not a red rabbit horse, the young man might have been kicked away by the red rabbit horse. Lubuletin looked at he was not a liar, and he was just here to give a kind reminder, so he didn't attack him. He just slapped his hand away and asked him to stand aside. Don't get me wrong, I'm not here to join this old beggar, I'm here to remind you. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Three Kingdoms, I Have a Job Transfer Palace. Author, Strong Wine Burns the Heart. Chapter 1049. This anxious young man mistakenly thought that Lubuletin misunderstood that he was a liar who came to cooperate with the old beggar, so he quickly explained. Young man, you don't a Euro trademark T have to worry so much. I know you are not with him. I am here to remind you out of kindness. Eat a Euro trademark S just that I, a little brother, don't a Euro trademark T like others touching his things. If you have anything to do, come to me and tell me. Lubuletin threw the young man away and kept blocking him from getting close to the carriage. Lu Feng saw that the young man did not look like a bad person, so he asked him to come to his carriage and explain himself properly. With Lu Feng, if so, Lubuletin would let this young man come over. Mr. An, the younger one, is a muntjac from Yan State. There is a wine shop not far away in front of me. If you want to drink good wine, you can go to my place at any time. Even after taking a look at Lu Feng's carriage and looking at the rich clothes he was wearing, I knew that he was definitely not an ordinary person, so I rushed to flatter him. This enthusiastic attitude was completely different from the way he was worried that they would be deceived just now. On the contrary. Sorry, master, you want to know who this old man is, right? He is actually a gentleman here. He used to teach and educate people, and he was a good person with excellent character. However, since the war started, he had no students to teach, and his sons also went to the battlefield. They all died in the battle. Since then, the gentleman has begging like crazy. Muntjac sighed. It seemed that he still had some regrets when he talked about what happened back then. His eyes when looking at the old man were also full of sympathy and pity. If it is what he said, this old gentleman was indeed a respectable person many years ago. People. Are you crazy because you have no queen? Lu Feng asked. Monkey King smiled awkwardly. Of course it is impossible for a knowledgeable man to go crazy because all his sons died in the battle. Instead, he is proud of his son. Young master, he is indeed a man who has seen the world. The old gentleman is not just because of his son. The most important thing is that one of his daughters was killed by his Sansa Euro trademark comrades. The old gentleman did not expect that those comrades were so inferior to dogs and pigs. Things, and regretted that he had received them cordially, so he killed his only daughter and went completely crazy. Muntjac told the complete story of that year. It turned out that the reason why the old gentleman went crazy was his daughter. However, no matter who it is absolutely impossible to accept it. Lu Feng is also a father. Now that he is alive, he can intimately feel his love and affection for his children. The kindness brought by blood ties cannot be erased. Although the old gentleman is a poor man, I don't want to embarrass him. Lu Buletin, let the old gentleman go without arguing with him. For the sake of this old madman, Lu Feng didn't plan to argue with him, and asked Lu Buletin to throw some money to him and hurry over. Have you forgotten what I said to you at the beginning? Although he is crazy now, it is wrong for him to defraud money like this. If you give the money, he will lead other beggars to think that as long as they have a miserable life experience, they can get a lot of money at will. The muntjac stopped Lu Feng, thinking that if he gave the money to this man out of sympathy, he would lead other beggars into trouble. Other beggars can also make up their own life experiences in advance, and then run out to fight with others. If you just cry indiscriminately and how pitiful you are, won't you achieve your goal? 3 Kingdoms, I Have a Job Transfer Palace. Author, Strong Wine Burns the Heart. Chapter 1050. Lu Feng smiled and shook his head. He had not thought of this. In this ancient age, if someone does a certain thing and becomes famous, others will imitate it, which will indeed have a bad impact. Lu Buletin, let the old gentleman leave and leave him alone. Lu Feng changed the order. He didn't want to leave too many traces at this time. He hasn't decided whether to change the world yet, so he might as well keep a low profile at this time. But in fact, he didn't know that he had already done something about it. This world has had an earth-shaking impact, especially now that he has snatched the world's famous sword. The original owner of the world's famous sword has also passed on this news, and no one in the rest of the schools knows his information. Now there are already many people who think they can snatch the parts back from him, so they have started tracking him. I believe it won't be long before he can meet these people who come to his door. Got it, sir. Lu Buletin obeyed the order, grabbed the old gentleman's clothes with one hand, and smoothly put him on the stone to the side to lean against, away from the carriage. You people can't do this. You actually broke my leg and didn't pay for it? You have no conscience. The old gentleman shouted loudly at this time, causing more people to gather around here. Many people were not familiar with this old gentleman, so they didn't know what was going on, which made the muntjac explain the reasons one after another. However, Lu Feng did not intend to continue to care about him and asked Zhao Yun to drive away immediately. Lu Buletin looked at the old gentleman and did not allow him to come forward. It's unreasonable. The evil people in this world now break people's legs, pat their butts and leave, leaving me to eat dust. Even though I'm old, I still have to be treated like this by you. This group of people is really abominable. The old gentleman cried. He seemed to have been greatly wronged. He didn't accept the kindness given by others at all. He just kept yelling and wanted to get more money for himself. Lu Buletin threw him aside and said after he distanced himself, he caught up with Lu Feng's carriage and left here. The Monkey King didn't see Lu Feng stop the car and go to his wine shop, so he stopped following him. But no one thought that Lu Feng was resting in an inn that night. At that time, this old gentleman actually came to the door of the inn. Don't pretend you don't know me. I came here just to see the young man who went in today. He broke my leg and has to pay for it. I won't just let it go. The old gentleman didn't know why he was so persistent. He could still remember what Lu Feng's carriage looked like. He chased the carriage to the inn where they were resting. He also seemed to occupy this place and would never leave again. Look. Is this old gentleman really crazy? I see that he is quite sober. Lu Feng couldn't help but doubt the old man's claim that he was crazy. If he were a real madman, his actions would not be so logical. They should be unusual behaviors that no one can guess. Do you need to go down and check on this old man? If it was a lie, maybe he was deliberately trying to entangle the young master. Lu Buletin is very powerful in combat, but in terms of strategy, he is just mediocre. Lu Feng is not going to let him go out to do things, so he might as well let Zhao Yun do it. You don't have to worry about this matter, I have other plans. Three Kingdoms, I have a job transfer palace. Author, Strong Wine Burns the Heart. Chapter 1051. Lu Feng told Lu Buletin not to follow up on this matter, and turned around and asked Zhao Yun to go check it out in person. If he asked the neighbors nearby, he might be able to get a different answer. Of course Lu Buletin didn't say anything about this, he immediately nodded and agreed, and went out to be the guard tonight. Although Lu Yuz was a 14-year-old boy, he saw that his father was not asleep, so he didn't sleep either. He held a copy of the Book of Changes and looked at it while waiting for his father to rest. Lu Yuz, who grew up in the palace, learned how ordinary folk children obeyed their father, and took the initiative to bring hot water and wanted to wash his father's feet. Faced with such behavior, Lu Feng was stunned for a moment at first. Although he had experienced these things in his previous life, he was a little uncomfortable because he had been here for too long in this life. Thinking about it, he had never had the opportunity to wash his father's feet, so he acquiesced in Lu Yuz's behavior, which could be regarded as satisfying the child's filial piety. Go to bed early. Maybe there will be something else to deal with tomorrow. If you get busy you don't even have time to finish reading this book. Lu Feng patted Lu Yuz's shoulder to encourage him and asked him to go to bed early and not to delay his sleep time. For a growing teenager, sleep is very important. But father, General Zhao Yun hasn't come back yet. He should have gone to investigate the old gentleman's affairs. Why don't you let your son wait here until he comes back to hear what happened? My son also wants to help you. Lu Yuz was full of filial piety, and Lu Feng didn't want to drive him away, so he agreed to let him read in his room while waiting for Zhao Yun to come back. Converting the current time, it was only about 11:10 in the middle of the night. Even if it wasn't sleeping will not have much impact, as long as you go to bed before 12 o'clock. When it was almost 12 o'clock, Zhao Yun finally came back, but when he came back, he also carried a sack, and he was knocked unconscious inside the sack. The smell of the old gentleman came over, and Lu Feng was very disgusted. Please forgive me, sir. I was in a hurry and sent him here before I had time to clean him. Zhao Yun confessed. He didn't do it intentionally, but he didn't have enough time. He had no choice. What could possibly happen that would cause you to send this person over before you could properly clean him? Do I have to see him now? Lu Feng's question is telling Zhao Yun that if there is no reasonable explanation, Zhao Yun will definitely be severely punished. This person seems to have some particularly powerful famous sword in his hand. He is pretending to be crazy now to avoid the news leaking out and attracting other people to follow or rob him. He lived in seclusion just to keep these things, but he didn't expect that later after the incident involving the children. I see that the young master is an upright person, so I want to hand over the famous sword to you. The general thought that such an important matter must be told to the young master face to face, but as soon as I knocked the old man unconscious and put it in the sack, someone was already chasing me to grab it. I can only seize the time to come back and tell you about it. We keep this old man? Zhao Yun explained it carefully. It turned out that it was because he didn't dare to make independent decisions, so he came back in such a hurry. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Three Kingdoms, I have a job transfer palace. Author, Strong Wine Burns the Heart. Chapter 1052. Lu Feng finally understood the meaning of Zhao Yun's words. Someone was chasing the old man so quickly. It seemed that the other party was not an ordinary person. The intelligence investigation was very active. Lu Feng just met this old man today and knew something about him. Some people already knew it, but they only found clues about him now. But no matter how you look at this old man, it doesn't look like you know him. Does this man really possess a world-famous weapon? It doesn't look like he's so poor. Sir, please look at this. Zhao Yun took out a key. This is the Earth character lock used by people in ancient times. Where did this come from? Lu Feng glanced at the old man who had been knocked unconscious. It's not like the old man handed this thing over on his own initiative, otherwise Zhao Yun wouldn't have the need to defeat him. It was found from the wine vat that the old man drank from. After he was thrown out by us, he returned to his thatched hut. There were hundreds of wine vats in the thatched hut. The general originally just wanted to smash those wine vats, but he didn't expect it. I just happened to get a key. Zhao Yun was an unexpected gain. He had never thought about getting this key. After all, he didn't know who he wanted unless the old man told him. But luck was so good that he casually smashed some wine jars. That's it, I got the thing. But which room is this thing going to be used in? No one knows at all. They can only wait for the old man to wake up and ask him. Did you get rid of those people or just kill them? Since the old man has these important things in his hands, Lu Feng is also considering whether to save him. After the general found out the information, he thought that the young master did not give the order. He did not want to make enemies and cause chaos to the young master, but just got rid of them. Zhao Yun is a measured person. He will not act randomly. It was an accident that he encountered other people chasing the old man this time, so Lu Feng did not issue relevant orders. He took it upon himself to get rid of those people, but it didn't work. Making enemies is a good outcome. If you were asked to turn around and go back now, find all those people and bring them to me, wouldn't everyone be able to be killed and must be alive? Lu Feng thought for a few minutes and still thought that those people should not be let go. Even if they can't find the old man tonight, they will continue to look for him another day. It is better to solve the problem tonight. Those people are no match for me, and I can bring them all back alive in no time. Zhao Yun is very confident in this. He is Changshan Zhao Zilong. Even if he changes to another dynasty, his strength cannot be underestimated. In the world of Qin Shi Minjiao, the only one who can beat him is his own Lu Buletin. Zhao Yun was not afraid at all when facing other people. Lu Feng knew his strength and nodded and asked him to find those people. When he found all those people, the old man finally woke up. When he saw those who were chasing him, he was so scared that he hid again. It's useless for you to hide in the sack. If I let them kill you, there would be no chance for you to hide in the sack now. Lu Feng was speechless. Is there something wrong with this old man's brain? He still doesn't understand what the situation is now. He didn't realize at all that he was still alive because he saved him, otherwise he would have met the king of hell long ago. 3 Kingdoms, I Have a Job Transfer Palace. Author, Strong Wine Burns the Heart. Chapter 1053. Only then did the old man realize that the person in front of him was an enemy, but he was definitely not a friend. Whether he could protect himself or not would depend on his subsequent performance. Who are you and why do you want to protect me? During the day, I thought about blackmailing you. You have to save my life tonight. Is this transition too abrupt? But this old man is not a fool. He is very smart and thinks that there is nothing good to say between Lu Feng and him. During the day, their encounter cannot be said to be friendly. Then look at those people, do you know them? Do you think you would still be whole if you fell into their hands? Lu Feng pointed to the 7 or 8 people beside him who were captured by Zhao Yun and asked him. Although there were a little more people, these people were indeed coming for the old man. The old man's brows jumped. These 7 or 8 people were not his. He knew them all, but at least 2 of them he knew and was very familiar with. It's not like you don't know them at all. It's best to tell the truth. Otherwise, I don't mind using some special means, but you may become an idiot by then, and you will no longer be a fake madman, but a real one. Madman. Lu Feng's threatening words brought the old man's thoughts back to this room. This statement is a bit strange. After all, for people in Qin Shi Minjiao's world, they do not have the concept of soul searching, and their brains will not be opened by others. Concept. Who are you? The old man looked at Lu Feng suspiciously. Although he didn't understand the meaning of the sentence just now, he realized that there was no killing intention in it. Lu Feng meant what he said. You only have 3 seconds to think about it. When I count to 3 and you haven't told me the secrets you hide, then I will make you a real madman forever. Lu Feng's words brought up a new concept. The word 3 seconds was very novel to the old man, but he understood what was said behind it, and that was enough. You, like them, covet the famous sword in my hand. The old man doesn't want to become a real madman. He hasn't completed his mission yet. Of course he doesn't want to. You have one last chance to speak. Lu Feng blocked the old man's next words of inquiry. After a long silence, the old man sighed and gave up. The news you want to know, they all know that you are quite stupid sometimes. Why bother if you arrest me and then arrest them? Perhaps he was still insisting on his mission in his heart and was still unwilling to explain these things clearly in person, so he turned all his attention to the people who were chasing him. Zhao Yun frowned and the assassins were frightened. A big jump. The young man in front of her looked like he was only 20 years old, but when facing her, he had no strength to resist at all, and could not even survive a single move from him. How strong is he? So that so many of them were helpless against the young man in front of them. So seeing the murderous intent in Zhao Yun's eyes now, they were all afraid and could only honestly explain that they accepted the mission and came here to complete the mission, no matter what the representative wants to risk his own life, so he must confess honestly and quickly.